Doug, one of the questions you often get or objections to the Protestant church from Catholics is the claim that from the Catholic perspective, they have one universal church.
Right.
And so the identity of the church is clear. But when you look at the Protestant church, you have a myriad of different representations of the church, a jillion different denominations.
Right.
It's all broken up. How is that not a legitimate tag on
Objection.
us? Yeah.
I think it would be a legitimate objection, or at least a legitimate point to consider, if it were anywhere close to being accurate. All right. The problem is that it is not accurate. It's one of those things that everybody knows that ain't so. And you might say, well, everybody, I drive around and I see Protestant churches everywhere, et cetera. But in the polemical exchanges between Roman Catholic apologists and Protestant apologists and so forth, the figure 20,000 denominations or 20,000 plus is a routine sort of claim. If you trace the genealogy of that, so if somebody said, where did that number come from, by the way? Where does it come from? You can trace it back to the World Christian Encyclopedia, which is an exhaustive demographic, book, and it's not a polemical book. It's just recording data. World Christian Encyclopedia. I think it's edited by a guy named Barrett, last name of Barrett. And if you look at that book and you look at apples to apples, right, you find out that you don't have anything close to 20,000 denominations over here and the one true church over there. Okay. You can count denominations different ways. So, for example, Baptists, independent fundamental Baptist churches with an independent polity, if you're counting it in terms of jurisdiction, you're going to have a grossly disproportionate number that ratchets up. Also, if you look at it, the number 20,000 comes from, it's over 20,000, but this would include a number of non-Protestant groups, not recognizably Protestant in any way. And the Protestant grouping, that, according to this rough cut, would be closer to 8,000. Well, somebody might say, well, that's still bad, right? Yeah, it is bad, but if you go into the apples to apples, where you group things according to traditions, like common practices, common liturgy, common doctrinal assumptions, and so forth, and you drill down into the data, you find that among the Orthodox, there are 19 different traditions. Among Protestants, there are 21. And among Roman Catholics, there are 16. Okay, so
how are you defining traditions within, say, Roman Catholic?
Within Roman Catholic would be like Old Latin Rite Catholics. Okay. There are sedevacantist Roman Catholics. Sedevacantist is someone who believes the papal seat is currently vacant. Right. So you've got the Old Catholics and the Latin Rite Catholics, and so you've got this Roman Catholic grouping, and then you count all the traditions and streams within them, and then you compare those traditions and streams to a comparable set within Protestants, where you group the Presbyterians together, that kind of thing. Basically, I think it's fair to say that Orthodox, Roman Catholics, and Protestants are all inhabiting the same basic world. There's not a radical distinction between them, unless you pull out the trump card that all sectarians always pull out. Well, our body is unified, and it's all you guys who are fragmented. I'm doing okay. The rest of the army is out of step. If you do that, then of course a lonely sectarian Church of Christ can say we're it, and we're unified, and all you guys are fragmented. Mm-hmm. But that's to win the argument by definition. That's the argument of the sectarian. And I would go a step further. When I said that there were 21 Protestant streams, 21 Protestant traditions over against 19 Orthodox ones and 16 Roman Catholic ones, that is not taking into account what you might call evangelicalism. So the Protestantism would include liberal denominations and denominations gone to seed. If you if you group the evangelicals together and look at what you might call practical Catholicity, you know, where they're holding conferences together, there's a great deal of porousness and crossover among evangelicals. In other words, the Roman Catholic Church has almost as many subdivisions and traditions as Protestantism, almost, and significantly more than evangelicalism does. And it's an apples to apples sort of thing. And then what divisions do exist among evangelicals, you find Baptists and Presbyterians and Methodists and people, you know, people from all different streams showing up at the same conferences and buying the same books and listening to the same radio stations and so forth. So there's a great deal of functional Catholicity among evangelical Protestants that, having said all this, I'm happy to say, okay, and we want to grow up into the unity of the faith, as Paul says in Romans 4. We've got a lot of work to do. I'm not trying to hang a bronze plaque on the wall and say that, you know, we've arrived at the final unity of the faith. We certainly haven't. But if you examine the numbers carefully, you're not dealing with this global embarrassment of thousands and thousands of carping, snarking Protestants and a unified church over here. That's just simply not true.
Okay. Thanks.